Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Mysteries in the Dark. I am Luna Sparks, and I am here with my lifelong friend and co-host, Omar Trekker. Today, we are going to touch on near-death experiences. Omar, we often talk about resilience, about fighting through tough times, but I just came across a story that redefines what it means to refuse to give up truly. It's about Donald Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland. What an absolute legend. His filmography is incredible. But redefines refusal? That's a strong statement. Tell me, what happened?
Well, most people know him for his iconic roles, but what they might not know is that Donald Sutherland learned to fight death when he was practically a toddler. At 2 years old, polio tried to take him, and that was just the beginning.
Polio at 2. That's horrifying. I can't even imagine. And you said just the beginning.
Exactly. After polio, it was rheumatic fever, then hepatitis, scarlet fever, and pneumonia. By the time he was 10, Omar, half his childhood was spent gasping for air in hospital beds across Nova Scotia. It's like death was just constantly knocking on his door.
My goodness, to go through that as a child. It must have instilled something so primal in him, a deep-seated instinct for survival.
It absolutely did. Each time, his small body just found a way to refuse. He literally learned to say no to death from the youngest age. It's almost like he built up this incredibly strong muscle memory for survival, one illness after another.
That's an incredible foundation for a life, isn't it? To have faced mortality so intimately, so early on. It changes you, I'm sure. So he obviously made it through childhood, became an actor, married Shirley Douglas, had kids. A full life was unfolding.
He did, and he was building a career, playing memorable characters even if they weren't always in blockbusters. Then came 1968, and death came knocking again, but this time it was far more insidious.
Oh no. What happened in '68?
He flew to Yugoslavia for a supporting role in Kelly's Heroes, that WWI comedy with Clint Eastwood. He was 33, playing Oddball, the hippie tank commander. Small part, good pay, maybe 2 weeks of shooting, easy money, right?
Oddball. That character is iconic. I remember him. So, what went wrong?
The Danube River carried invisible bacteria. Pneumococcus found Donald within days of arrival. He contracted bacterial meningitis, Omar. That's not just a bad infection. It moves incredibly fast, attacking the protective membranes around your brain and spinal cord.
Oh, that's terrifying. So he goes from being perfectly fine to...
Exactly, no warning. One afternoon, he's joking with cast members between takes. That night, he collapsed unconscious. The hospital in Novi Sad had walls, beds, nurses, but it didn't have the antibiotics he desperately needed. In 1968 Yugoslavia, they just didn't exist.
That's a death sentence right there. Just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, without access to modern medicine. Shirley, his wife, she must have been frantic.
Absolutely. She received a telegram in Canada. 6 words, Omar, that shattered her world. Your husband is dying. Come immediately. Donald slipped into a coma.
Oh, that's just gut-wrenching. 6 words, and he's just in a coma, in a foreign hospital, without the treatment he needs. This sounds like something out of a movie script, except it's real life.
For 6 weeks, his body lay motionless. The infection was squeezing his brain. Nurses performed 7 spinal taps, trying desperately to save him. At one point, a needle even slipped from their hands and shattered on the marble floor. People would come into his room, look at his still form, weep quietly, and then leave. They were saying goodbye.
That's just haunting, the sense of hopelessness, the finality. And to be there, in that state, completely vulnerable. Did he ever remember any of it?
He remembered everything. Years later, he'd tell interviewers something most people don't know about comas. You can hear, he said. You remember. Talk to them. They're listening. He heard every word, every sob, every prayer whispered over his bed. Imagine the emotional weight of that.
That's profound. To be conscious in some way, to absorb all that sorrow and despair, but be unable to respond. It adds a whole new layer of terror to the experience. So, what happened in those 6 weeks?
Somewhere in that darkness, between life and death, his heart stopped beating. Brain activity ceased. The medical monitors showed flat lines. Donald Sutherland died.
He died. I mean, we know he's obviously alive after that, for decades, but he actually died. What did he describe?
He saw the blue tunnel immediately. And get this, Omar, this was 1968, 7 years before anyone even coined the term near-death experience. He had no framework to understand it. He just knew the tunnel was real, and the white light at the bottom felt overwhelmingly peaceful.
So, before anyone really knew what a near-death experience was, he was having one. That's fascinating. What was it like for him?
He described it decades later to Smithsonian Magazine. Such a tempting journey, he said. So serene. Everything was going to be all right. He felt himself sliding down that blue tunnel, towards the glowing white light. The peace wrapped around him like warm water. Every muscle in his body wanted to surrender. Just let go, stop fighting. Everything would be fine.
That overwhelming sense of peace, the temptation to just give in. It sounds so powerful. Most people, I imagine, would just surrender to that.
He almost did. He really did. But then something woke up inside him, something primal. Maybe it was the memory of all those childhood battles, that 2-year-old who survived polio, the boy who survived rheumatic fever, hepatitis, pneumonia, scarlet fever, the child who spent half his youth fighting for every single breath.
The boy who refused to die, that muscle memory of defiance. So, what did he do?
He recalled, just as I was seconds away from succumbing to that matte white light, some primal force fiercely grabbed my feet and compelled them to dig my heels in. He literally dug his heels in. He refused to die.
Wow, that image, digging his heels in, it's so visceral, like a subconscious, fundamental rejection of the ultimate surrender. It's like his very essence, forged in those childhood illnesses, just kicked in.
Exactly. He said the downward journey slowed and stopped. I'd been on my way to being dead when some memory of the desperate rigor I'd applied to survive all my childhood illnesses pulled me back, forced me to live. Donald Sutherland came back.
He came back. His heart restarted. Brain activity returned. The monitors showed life again. It's a miracle, isn't it? Especially considering the circumstances in Yugoslavia.
It truly is. Meanwhile, back in Hollywood, MGM Studios faced a huge business decision. Their actor was in a coma, production had stopped. The logical choice was obvious: recast the role, move forward. But director Brian G. Hutton refused.
He refused to recast. That's incredible loyalty. Or perhaps he just saw something truly special in Donald. 6 weeks is a long time to halt a major film production.
They waited 6 weeks. MGM flew Donald to London for better treatment, better antibiotics, better hope. Medical staff worked to save what the infection had damaged, and when the 6-week hiatus ended, the studio made another decision that defied all logic.
What was that? To cancel the movie?
No. They pulled him from the London hospital and flew him back to Yugoslavia, back to the country that had just killed him.
That's insane. To send him back to the scene of such trauma, such a near-fatal event. Was he completely recovered?
He said later, I'd recovered. Sort of. He could walk, he could talk, but the infection had squeezed his brain so tightly that nothing worked quite the same. He wept without warning at random moments. Heights terrified him, water paralyzed him. The man who grew up loving the Nova Scotia coast now froze at the sight of the ocean.
Oh, my heart goes out to him. The invisible scars of such an ordeal. It's a reminder that survival isn't just about living, it's about living with what survival leaves behind. His brain was truly fried, as he put it.
Exactly. But he stood in front of the camera anyway, and Donald Sutherland finished what he'd started. He played oddball, that philosophical tank commander with zen-like calm and hippie sensibilities who refused to be rattled by chaos.
The irony of that, To play a character defined by his calm and unflappability after experiencing such an intense, life-altering trauma. Maybe you can only play that kind of piece convincingly after you've died and chosen to come back.
It truly gives the character a whole new dimension, doesn't it? 50 years later, military veterans still quote Oddball's lines from memory, and that was just the beginning of his resurgence.
Absolutely. Kelly's Heroes premiered in 1970, and then came MASH that same year, and then Clute Don't Look Now, which is interesting because it was filmed entirely in Venice, confronting his new fear of water. He really leaned into his fears, it seems.
He did. Then Fellini's Casanova, 1900, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Ordinary People, JFK, The Hunger Games envisioned nearly 200 films across 6 decades. It's an astonishing body of work, all after literally coming back from the dead.
It's almost like that experience, that brush with death, just supercharged his life and his career. He never won a competitive Oscar, which is wild to think about given his talent, but he got that honorary Oscar at 82.
He did, in 2017, and in his acceptance speech he quoted Jack Benny, "I don't deserve this, but I have arthritis, and I don't deserve that either." The room filled with laughter and love. It was a beautiful moment acknowledging a life well lived.
A life well lived indeed, and his son Kiefer's announcement after his recent passing, on June 20th, 2024, at 88 years old, was just perfect. He loved what he did and did what he loved, and one can never ask for more than that. A life well lived. Those words, a life well lived, resonate so deeply knowing what he went through.
They really do, because that life almost ended in 1968, in that hospital room in Yugoslavia. He saw the blue tunnel, he felt the overwhelming peace of surrender, and he dug his heels in. He came back, he returned to the country that nearly killed him, he created beauty that would outlive him by generations, and he did it again and again for 56 more years.
56 more years. Think of all the incredible work, the moments, the impact he had in those extra decades. It's truly mind-boggling. Survival changes you, absolutely. It rewires your brain, makes familiar things terrifying, leaves invisible scars. But in his case, it also fueled an incredible drive.
It's almost like if you've already spent half your childhood fighting for every single breath, then when death reaches for you one more time, you already know the answer. You've been here before. You know how to dig your heels in. You know how to refuse.
The boy who couldn't breathe became one of cinema's most respected actors. The man who died in 1968 worked for 56 more years. The father who loved what he did showed us what it means to refuse to quit, even when quitting feels easier, more peaceful, more tempting than anything you've ever known.
And the way he talked about it later, too. In 2015, at age 80, 47 years after Yugoslavia, he was asked about his near-death experience. He just said simply, as if describing breakfast, "I died for a few seconds, saw the blue tunnel, dug my feet in. No drama, just matter of fact."
Matter of fact, because for him it was just another challenge he had to overcome. Death reached for him twice, first as a child, then as a man. Both times he recognized it. Both times he knew exactly what to say. No.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? For those of us who weren't taught early on that survival isn't given, it's chosen, what moment in our own lives teaches us how to dig our heels in? What's that primal force that kicks in when everything tells you to surrender?
Yeah, it's a powerful question. And maybe it's not always a dramatic near-death experience, but perhaps those small everyday moments where we choose to push through, to fight for what we believe in, even when it feels overwhelming. Donald Sutherland's story is truly a testament to the human spirit's incredible capacity to choose life.
Absolutely. A remarkable life, and a legacy that goes far beyond the screen. Thanks for sharing this incredible perspective, Omar.
My pleasure, Luna. It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? What an inspiration.